On the rocky planet of Velthara, beauty meant everything. The Veltharan people were tall, strong, and covered in shiny crystal-like skin. They walked with pride, their voices smooth, their scent like sweet spices. Every Veltharan child learned one thing early. If you were not perfect, you were nothing. Velzani was born different. Her skin was dull, with patches of rough texture instead of smooth shine. Her scent was stronger, more earthy, and her voice had a deep rasp, unlike the soft tones others admired. From the moment she could walk, other children avoided her. Teachers looked away when she raised her hand. Even her own family treated her like a shadow, present but never seen. Still, Velzani didn't stop learning. She didn't cry or shout or try to beg for kindness. Instead, she listened. She watched. And when no one was looking, she began building. At the edge of her mining colony, near a field of old machines and broken ships, Velzani found a place of her own. The others called it the Junklands, but to her, it was a treasure room. She collected wires, tools, and scraps of old metal. Piece by piece, she learned how to make things work again. Broken lights glowed. Rusty bots moved. Engines hummed. But no one cared. No one came. Then one day, while digging near a collapsed tunnel, Velzani's tool hit something strange. It wasn't Veltharan metal. It was smooth, round, and old. Very old. She cleared the dirt slowly and found a small silver box with a cracked logo that read, "Property of Earth, Terran Satellite 9B. She had heard of humans before, strange creatures with soft skin and wild emotions. Most Veltharans said they were messy, loud, and not to be trusted. But Velzani didn't care about rumors. She cared about machines. She carried the satellite back to her workshop. It took her days to repair the power core. Her hands bled from sharp wires. Her eyes burned from late nights. But finally, with a spark and a soft beep, the satellite came to life. A soft blue light blinked. Unseen by her, far above Velthara's skies, a signal shot into space. A beacon that had slept for hundreds of years was now awake. That night, Velzani sat under the stars. She felt proud, even if no one knew what she had done. For once, she let herself dream. What if someone heard the signal? What if someone came? Far away, deep in space, a ship picked up the signal. It was a Terran vessel, small and old, but still running. The captain, a human named Elias Trent, saw the beacon and leaned forward in his seat. A Terran satellite? On Velthara? That's not supposed to be there. He tapped the screen, zooming in on the planet. Well, guess it's time to make some new friends. Back on Velthara, Velzani had no idea her life was about to change. The Starbound. Resolve was not a big ship. It was old and scratched in many places, but it still flew with a steady hum. Captain Elias Trent stood on the bridge, staring at the blue planet below, Velthara. The planet looked strange to Elias. Sharp mountains, deep valleys, and glittering crystals everywhere. But the surface was quiet. No large cities, no busy streets, just scattered mining camps and rocky plains. "We're close," Elias said to his crew. "Let's find the source of that signal." The crew was a mix of people from Earth and other places. There was Maya, the ship's engineer, Raj, the botanist who loved plants from all over the galaxy, and Sora, the pilot who could fly anything. As the ship landed on a small clearing near a mining colony, Elias looked out the window. He saw dust rising from machines working hard to pull minerals from the ground. The miners moved like ants, small and busy, but Elias's eyes caught something else. A figure moving near old, broken machines at the edge of the camp. The person was alone, small in the wide world around her. She wore ragged clothes and her skin looked different from the others. "Who is that?" Elias asked Maya. "No one important here," Maya replied. "Just a loner, like many in this colony. People keep to themselves because life is hard." Elias frowned. Something about the figure made him curious. Later, when the ship's team met the local leaders, they were cold. The Veltharans did not want outsiders. They saw humans as strange and untrustworthy. Their crystal skin shone under the harsh sun, and they held their heads high, proud of their perfect appearance. Elias felt the cold looks and heard the whispered words about the human's presence, but he was here for one reason: to learn about the satellite. The next day, Elias decided to explore the area near the mining camp. As he walked near the junklands, he heard a faint clinking sound. Following the noise, he found the figure, Velzani, working carefully on a broken machine. Her hands moved with skill and care, tightening bolts and fixing wires. Her clothes were dirty and her scent was strong like the earth after rain. Her skin was rougher than others, and her voice was low and raspy. But Elias saw something else. Her eyes sparkled with intelligence and hope. "Hey," he said softly. Velzani jumped, surprised. She looked up, ready to run, but something in Elias's calm voice stopped her. "Are you the one who fixed the satellite?" he asked, holding out a small device. Velzani nodded slowly. "Yes. It was broken for many years. I did what I could." Elias smiled. "That's amazing. You have a great talent." She looked away, unsure what to say. No one had ever praised her before. "Why do you live out here alone?" Elias asked gently. Velzani's eyes grew sad. "They say I am dirty. They say I smell bad. They say I am not like them, so I stay away." Elias shook his head. "That is wrong. Your work is brilliant. You should be proud." Velzani blinked. No one had ever said that to her. Over the next few days, Elias returned to visit her. He asked questions about her machines, her life, and her dreams. Velzani began to open up, sharing stories of how she learned to fix things and how she wished to explore the stars. The Veltharans noticed Elias's visits and whispered among themselves. "Why does the human spend time with that outcast?" they wondered. One afternoon, a group of noble Veltharans came to the junklands. They sneered at Velzani, mocking her dirty clothes and strong scent. "Why do you waste your time on this creature?" one asked Elias, loud enough for all to hear. Elias looked at them calmly. "Because she is smart and kind. And because she saved my ship with her inventions." The nobles were shocked. Some laughed, but others looked uncertain. Velzani felt a strange warmth inside. For the first time she was seen, not as a mistake, but as a person with value. As the sun set behind the crystal mountains, Elias and Velzani stood together looking at the stars. "Maybe this is just the beginning," Elias said. Velzani smiled. "Maybe it is." The human had arrived, and with him, a new hope. The days passed quickly on the edge of the mining colony. Velzani and Captain Elias Trent met often near her workshop, surrounded by old tools, wires, and half-finished machines. Despite the dusty air and broken equipment, there was a spark of excitement in the small space, a feeling neither of them had expected. Velzani showed Elias her inventions. Some were simple, devices to fix broken machines faster, or tools to make mining safer. Others were clever, combining Veltharan crystals with old Terran technology. Elias watched carefully, impressed by her skill and creativity. "You've done amazing work here," Elias said one afternoon. "You see possibilities where others see only trash." Velzani smiled shyly. "I don't have much choice." "No, one else cares." Elias shook his head. "That's because they don't understand, but I do." Velzani's eyes brightened. For the first time, she felt like someone believed in her. One morning, Elias invited Velzani aboard the starbound Resolve. She hesitated, unsure if she should leave her small world behind. The Veltharans would surely talk badly about her. But curiosity and hope pushed her forward. When she stepped into the ship, Velzani was amazed. The inside was crowded but full of life. Machines hummed smoothly, lights glowed softly, and the crew moved like a family. Maya, the engineer, greeted her with a warm smile, and Raj showed her a small plant growing in a clear container. "This is my garden," Raj said proudly. "A piece of home wherever we go." Velzani touched the leaves carefully. It was the first living thing she had seen up close in a long time. Elias showed her the ship's bridge, the control room, and the engine bay. Velzani asked questions about the technology, eager to learn more. She saw that humans and other species worked together in ways she had never imagined. Here, no one cares about skin or scent, Elias explained. We care about what you can do, and who you are. Velzani's heart lifted. This was a place she might belong. But not everyone on Velthara was happy. Rumors spread quickly among the mining colony and the Veltharan nobles. The human has taken the outcast, they said with sneers. She will bring shame to our people. One evening, as Velzani returned from the ship, a group of young Veltharans blocked her path. Their crystal skins sparkled under the moonlight, their eyes cold. Why do you waste your time with a human? One asked, voice sharp. You belong with us, not with that strange outsider. Velzani stood tall, though her voice trembled. I belong with those who see me for who I am. The group laughed and pushed past her. Velzani wiped dust from her clothes, determined not to let their words break her. Later, Elias found her sitting alone near the junklands. He sat quietly beside her, letting her gather strength. You're stronger than you think, he said, gently. Don't let them define you. Velzani looked up. It is hard to believe that sometimes. Elias smiled. It is hard for many, but you are not alone anymore. The next day, Elias invited Velzani to help with a problem on the ship. The reactor was unstable after a recent space storm, and the crew needed a quick fix. Velzani worked quickly, examining the damaged circuits and worn parts. She combined her knowledge of Veltharan crystals with human technology to build a small device that could stabilize the energy flow. As the machine hummed to life, the crew cheered. Elias put his hand on Velzani's shoulder. You just saved this ship. Velzani felt pride well up inside. For the first time, she saw herself not as the outcast, but as someone who mattered. Word spread fast. When the Veltharan nobles heard about what Velzani had done, they were shocked. Some tried to hide it, others whispered their surprise. One noble, a tall Veltharan named Zorath, approached Elias. Your human friend is skilled. Perhaps she has value. Elias nodded. She has more than value. She has heart. Zorath glanced at Velzani, who stood quietly nearby. Something in his cold eyes softened, just a little. That night, on the ship's observation deck, Velzani and Elias watched the stars. Do you think they will ever accept me? She asked quietly. Maybe, Elias said. But even if they don't, you have a place here. With us. Velzani smiled, feeling hope for the first time in her life. The human and the outcast had formed a bond, stronger than any difference, in skin, scent, or past. Together they would face whatever the universe had waiting. Velzani stood at the airlock of the starbound Resolve, her heart pounding. The cold metal beneath her feet was different from the rocky soil of Velthara, but she felt a new kind of excitement inside, a hope that maybe, just maybe, this was the start of something better. Elias smiled at her. Ready to leave the junklands behind? Velzani nodded. Ready. As the ship lifted off, Velzani looked down at her homeworld shrinking beneath the clouds. She felt a strange mix of sadness and relief. The planet that had cast her out was becoming smaller, and her future was opening wide. Inside the ship, Velzani met the crew again. Maya showed her how the engine worked, explaining in simple terms how the fusion core produced energy. Raj offered her a small leaf from his plant garden. Try this, he said. It's earth mint, it smells nice. Velzani smiled and took the leaf, breathing in the fresh scent. It was different from the smells of Velthara, but it was pleasant, a reminder that there were many worlds beyond her own. Sora, the pilot, invited her to the cockpit. Want to see how we fly through space? Velzani nodded eagerly. The glowing stars outside looked like diamonds scattered on black velvet. The vastness of space was both beautiful and frightening. Humans are brave to travel so far, she said softly. Elias laughed. It's what we do. Explore, learn, help. Belzani felt proud to be part of this crew. She was no longer alone. But space was not always kind. On their way to a nearby star system, the ship entered an asteroid field. The rocks tumbled through, space crashing into each other with loud noises that shook the ship. "Hold on!" Sora shouted, twisting the controls to dodge the largest asteroids. Belzani helped by using her knowledge of machines. She repaired a damaged sensor panel, restoring the ship's navigation systems just in time. "Nice work," Elias said, clapping her on the back. After the danger passed, the crew gathered in the common room. They laughed and shared stories. Belzani listened, amazed at how different their lives were, but also how much they cared for each other. "This is my family now," she thought. One day the ship received a strange message, a distress call from a Veltharan cruiser trapped near a dangerous star. The message was urgent. Their systems were failing, and they needed help, fast. Elias looked at Belzani. "This is your home, people. What do you think?" Belzani hesitated. The Veltharans on that cruiser had always rejected her. But now she was part of something bigger. She wanted to help. Not for their thanks, but because it was right. "I want to help," she said firmly. Elias nodded. "Then let's get moving." The starbound Resolve changed course toward the trapped ship. The closer they got, the more Belzani's heart beat faster. She remembered the cold looks, the whispers, the loneliness. But she pushed those thoughts away. When they reached the cruiser, the situation was worse than they thought. The ship's engines were failing and dangerous radiation was leaking from damaged systems. Elias and his crew prepared to board the cruiser. Belzani took the lead, using her knowledge of Veltharan technology to guide the repair team. Inside the cruiser, Belzani faced the nobles who once scorned her. They looked surprised to see her, working calmly and confidently. "Why are you here?" one noble demanded. "To help," Belzani replied simply. She moved quickly, fixing power conduits, sealing leaks, and stabilizing the reactors. Her hands were steady, her mind focused. Slowly, the ship's systems came back online. The nobles watched in silence, some ashamed, some amazed. When the repairs were complete, Elias spoke to the nobles. "Belzani saved your ship. Her courage and skill kept you alive." Belzani said nothing. She was tired but proud. She had helped not for praise, but because it was the right thing to do. As the cruiser flew away safely, Elias turned to Belzani. "You did more than fix a ship today. You showed what true strength is." Belzani smiled, feeling a new kind of respect, not just from others but from herself. The journey had just begun, and with it, a chance to change not only her own life, but the future of many worlds. The starbound Resolve and the repaired Veltharan cruiser drifted side by side in orbit around a glowing blue planet. Inside the cruiser, Belzani stood quietly in the main hall, her hands folded in front of her. The nobles who had once rejected her now looked at her with a mixture of surprise and something new: respect. It was strange for Belzani. For so long, she had been the outcast, the one everyone ignored or whispered about behind closed doors. Now, she was the one who had saved their lives. One noble, tall and proud, stepped forward. "Belzani," he said, his voice softer than before. "You have proven yourself in a way none of us expected." Belzani met his eyes steadily. "I did what was right, not for praise, but because lives were at risk." Another noble nodded. "We were wrong to treat you as less. You are part of Velthara's future." The words touched something deep inside her. She had dreamed of acceptance, but now she understood it would come not from their kindness, but from her own strength. Outside, Captain Elias waited on the starbound Resolve, watching through the viewport as the Veltharan ship prepared to leave. He saw Belzani return to the airlock, tired but proud. When she stepped back aboard, Elias greeted her with a smile. "You did well." Belzani looked out at the stars, feeling the weight of what had happened. "They still don't truly understand me. she said quietly. Elias shook his head. They don't have to. You understand yourself, and that's what matters. Days passed as the starbound Resolve continued its journey through space. Velzani worked alongside the crew, helping improve systems and sharing her knowledge of Veltheron technology. The crew grew to respect her not just for her skills, but for her kindness and courage. One evening, Maya approached Velzani with a question. Have you ever thought about what you want for the future? Velzani smiled softly. I want to help others who feel lost, like I once did. Maybe build a place where everyone is accepted, no matter how they look or where they come from. Maya nodded. That sounds wonderful. You could change many lives. Meanwhile, news of Velzani's actions spread beyond their little crew. Across nearby star systems, stories were told of the outcast Veltharan who saved a cruiser and earned the trust of humans. Some leaders reached out hoping to meet her, to learn from her. One day, the starbound Resolve received an invitation. A science council made up of Veltharans and humans wanted Velzani to join them. They wanted her to help build new technologies and bring different species together. Velzani felt a mixture of pride and doubt. Could she leave the ship and crew she had come to love? Could she face the Veltharan leaders who once rejected her? Elias saw her hesitation. Whatever you decide, we will support you. But remember, your worth is not measured by others' opinions, but by your actions and heart. Velzani smiled, grateful for his friendship. As the starbound Resolve sailed toward its next destination, Velzani stood on the observation deck looking at the stars. She felt stronger than ever. No longer was she the smelly, dirty alien woman the Veltharans had shunned. She was a beacon of hope, a symbol that no matter where you come from, your worth can shine bright. And with Elias and her new family by her side, she was ready to face whatever the future held. The starbound Resolve glided through the calm depths of space, its engines humming softly as the stars shimmered beyond the windows. Inside, Velzani stood quietly in the ship's science lab, surrounded by glowing screens and strange devices. The invitation to join the Terran Veltharan Science Council had arrived weeks ago, and now it was official. She was to become a leader in a new effort to build peace and technology between different worlds. It was a big honor, one she never dreamed possible. Still, Velzani felt a tug in her heart. She had grown close to the crew of the starbound Resolve, Elias, Maya, Raj, and Sora. They had become her family. She wondered if she was ready to leave them behind for the council halls and formal meetings. One evening, she found Elias in the observation deck, staring at the stars. Do you think I'm ready for this? She asked softly. Elias smiled. You've always been ready. You just didn't believe it before. Velzani laughed quietly. I still feel like that smelly, dirty alien woman sometimes. Elias shook his head. You are so much more than that. You are brilliant, kind, and brave, and you've shown everyone that true worth comes from inside. Velzani's eyes glistened. Thank you, Elias, for seeing me when no one else did. Together, they watched the stars, feeling the weight of the future, but also the hope. When the ship arrived at the Council's space station, Velzani was greeted by leaders from many planets. Some Veltharans gave her nods of respect, while others remained silent. The humans welcomed her warmly. In the council halls, Velzani shared her ideas about technology and cooperation. She spoke of using science to help worlds grow, to heal wounds, and to build bridges between species. Her words were clear and powerful, inspiring many. Slowly, the council began to change. New projects were started to share knowledge and resources. Species that once feared each other now worked side by side. Yet despite the success, Velzani chose to remain humble. She often returned to the starbound Resolve, visiting her old friends, helping the crew with new inventions, and learning from them. One day, a message arrived from Velthara itself. The Veltharan High Council invited her to speak at a great ceremony, an official recognition of her work and her bravery. Belzani felt nervous, but also proud. She accepted the invitation, knowing it was not only for her, but for every outcast and dreamer who had been ignored. At the ceremony, she stood before the crowd, her voice steady and clear. "I am not the same person I was when I left Velthara," she said. "I have learned that worth is not given by others but made by our actions. We all have value, no matter how we look or where we come from." The crowd listened in silence. Some nodded, others wiped tears from their eyes. Afterwards, a young Veltharan girl approached Velzani. Her eyes shone with admiration. "You inspire me," she said. "I want to build things like you." Velzani smiled, placing a hand gently on the girl's shoulder. "You can, and you will." Back on the starbound Resolve, Elias waited to welcome her home. He held a small gift, a simple necklace with a polished gear from Earth. "To the one who turned scrap into salvation," he said, placing it around her neck. Velzani felt tears of happiness. She had come so far, from the lonely junklands to the halls of stars. Her journey was proof that even the smallest light could shine bright across the universe. Years passed like flowing rivers, quiet but unstoppable. The starbound Resolve continued, its journey across the stars, visiting distant worlds and facing new challenges. Velzani grew stronger with each mission, her mind sharp and her heart brave. She was no longer the lonely outcast of Velthara. She was a leader, an inventor, and a symbol of hope. On many worlds, people knew her name, not as the smelly, dirty alien woman, but as Zani, the brilliant. Her machines helped terraform barren planets, bringing green forests where once there was only dust. Her inventions saved lives during space storms and helped ships travel faster and safer. Yet despite all her fame, Velzani stayed humble. She remembered the days when no one saw her worth, when she lived alone in the junklands. Those memories kept her grounded, reminding her to be kind to those who still struggled. One day, the starbound Resolve arrived at a small mining world on the edge of the galaxy. The planet was rough and dusty, with hard-working miners living in simple homes. Velzani felt a familiar pull in her chest, a memory of her own lonely childhood. A young girl approached the ship, her eyes wide with wonder. She held a small, half-finished machine in her hands. "Are you Velzani?" the girl asked eagerly. Velzani smiled gently. "Yes, I am." The girl's face lit up. "I built this, but it doesn't work right. Can you help me?" Velzani knelt down and looked closely at the machine. It was rough, like something made from scraps, but it had potential. "Let's fix it together," she said. As they worked side by side, Velzani saw the girl's hope and dreams shining brightly. She reminded Velzani of herself, a child, once rejected but full of curiosity and courage. When the machine finally hummed to life, the girl cheered. "Thank you. I want to be an inventor just like you." Velzani placed a hand on her shoulder. "You can be anything you want. Never forget that." News of Velzani's visit spread through the mining colony. People gathered around the ship, eager to meet the hero who had come from a place not so different from their own. That night, as Velzani stood on the observation deck, Elias joined her. The stars stretched endlessly above, a reminder of all the journeys yet to come. "You've changed so much," Elias said softly. "Not just for yourself, but for everyone who believed in you." Velzani smiled. "I changed because someone saw my worth when I couldn't see it myself." Elias nodded. "And now you help others see their own worth." They stood together, two friends from different worlds, united by respect and hope. Velzani knew that her story was more than just her own. It was the story of all who had been unseen, unheard, and unloved. And now her legacy would light the way for generations to come. Far away, on another mining world, a young girl carefully placed a small plaque near her first invention. It read, simply, "For Zani, who showed us that worth is never in the outside but in the heart and mind." The universe was vast, full of unknowns and mysteries. But one truth shone bright. No matter where you come from or what others say, every person has value. Every person can shine, and sometimes it only takes one person who believes to change everything.